Welcome back to the Live with Grace podcast, where we discuss sports, lessons, and life as athletes, professionals, creators, dreamers, and leaders. I'm Grace Byer, and I'm your host, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Live with Grace podcast. Today, I'm joined by Camille Hobby, one of my high school teammates and also one of my longtime friends. Camille recently finished her D1 career at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and she also played 4 years at NC State University, so she played at Illinois for her grad year. And during that time, she helped Illinois to a WBIT championship and NC State to multiple ACC titles. And at Nease, she also had a lot of accolades and success. She was named Class 7A Florida Player of the Year, Florida's Miss Basketball, Jacksonville Times Union All-First Coast Player of the Year, All-USA Today Florida Girls High School Basketball First Team. So she's all these things, but she's also just been a great friend to me, and I'm really excited to have her on the show today. So welcome, Camille.
Thanks,
And
Grace.
is there anything you want to say to introduce yourself?
I think you did a great job. I mean, you know
Thank
you
you.
know me really well, so I feel like you did a great job. I don't think
Yeah, thank you.
nothing else for me to say.
I prepared. So I'm actually going to start with something new on this podcast. I haven't done this before, but I'm going to start with like some rapid fire questions. So just like the first answer that comes to your mind or phrase or whatever, answer with that. So,
Okay.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite or lucky number?
41.
Favorite stadium to play in?
Greensboro Coliseum.
Favorite pregame meal?
You can't go wrong with some spaghetti and chicken and
Well, I
salad.
didn't know you were going to say pasta of some sort. Okay. Favorite sports movie?
Remember the Titans.
Okay. Favorite basketball memory? That's a hard one.
I know I have so many. Probably winning 3 ACC championships.
Yeah.
Multiple NCAA runs, and then this last one, WBIT championship.
And favorite place you've lived? You've moved a lot over your course.
Definitely Florida, North Carolina.
Florida's the top?
Florida is the top. I can't lie.
Wow.
Florida's the best. Florida's the best.
What's one thing you like to do in your free time?
Definitely talk with my friends, talk with my family, just relax.
Top pet peeve?
I feel like I have a lot. I don't
I
know.
know. That's why I started laughing.
I think when people chew really loud, that bothers me. That's definitely a pet peeve.
That's fair. And favorite hobbies? Miss Hobby.
Right. Definitely basketball. But relaxing, that's
just chilling.
That's definitely it. I'm a simple woman.
Okay, so that's all we have for the rapid fire. Now I'm just gonna like get into the actual part of the, like what we're gonna talk about. So basically today on the show we're gonna talk about Camille's basketball journey and also mix in kind of like her strong sense of faith and confidence that sustains her. Like that's something that I really think about you around, because anytime that I've gone through something, like you always know what to say. We have those conversations a lot, and that's not something I could do with like any of my teammates or friends, you know? Mm-hmm. And also on the show, we're going to talk about basketball memories and things of that nature. So, first question, what inspired you to start playing basketball?
What inspired me to play basketball was definitely my dad. He played high school basketball. He played football at the University of Tennessee, got drafted to the NFL. He's coached college football and NFL football, so definitely a strong athletic background there. I've always been very competitive ever since I was little, and my parents got me into sports just for, activity, being in shape, and having that experience to love something and just have the socialization of meeting other people, and that's really just shaped the course of my life. So,
do you think like you wanted to kind of follow in your dad's footsteps, or you just fell in love with it whenever they put you in it?
I fell in love with it. I actually can remember this clear as day. It was 2008 Olympics, and I was sitting on the edge of my mom's bed, and the Olympic team was playing. I saw them and I was like, I want to be just like them. I saw all the greats in that 2008 game, and I told my mom, I want to play basketball. I want to be just like them. And she was like, well, you
Aw.
can do anything you can do anything you want to do. And ever since that age, ever since 7 years old, I've known that I wanted to play basketball, and I have, and I've been lucky enough to have some success doing it.
Yeah, some people I feel like they get really lucky in that they're put in something at a young age and then they actually fall in love with it, you know? Like you're definitely one of those stories. But I also hear people like who's who are put in something and kind of like forced into it and then they ended up like
Hmm.
resenting it and things of that nature, you know what I mean? So that's really cool
Absolutely.
that it was something that you fell in love with and it just like sustained you so long. Would you say your mom too had some role in that as well? Was she involved in
Um,
sports as a
no, my
kid?
mom, yeah, my mom, she played softball throughout her youth playing, but
Oh, I
she
never
didn't
knew
play,
that.
she didn't, yeah, she didn't play any sports in college or anything, but my mom has been my biggest supporter throughout all of this, driving me to practices, driving me to tournaments, flying to tournaments. Like she's helped me through everything,
Mhm. Yeah, she's
mentally.
awesome.
Yeah, she is awesome. And she's helped me through all of it. She's been right there in my corner the whole time.
Mhm. So, what would you say along the course of your basketball journey are some of the biggest difficulties that you faced?
Hmm. Um, I feel like throughout my journey, I've had quite a bit of success, but I
Mhm.
feel like I've also been doubted a lot
Mhm.
throughout the course of my career. Doubt from a lot of different angles. But one thing about it is that I've never doubted myself. I've always
Mhm.
believed in myself and my abilities and my hard work. And so at a younger age, it was definitely hard when, people around you are not believing in you. They're like, who's this kid? Like, why does she think that she can be great? So it was hard to begin with in the beginning, but then I realized that, this is my passion. This is what I feel like, I'm supposed to be doing, playing
Mhm.
basketball and then eventually getting into coaching. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
So I've always remembered that, and that's something that I've always tried to focus on is my belief in myself. And it
Mhm.
doesn't matter the doubt from others because it's just an opinion. Everyone has an opinion. But
Yeah.
what really matters is the belief you have in what you do. What are
Mhm.
you doing? And so that's something that I've really focused on is the belief that I can do great things and that I can be great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful. How would you say, like, what are some of the things that you do or you say to yourself to keep that faith in yourself strong, even when there's people saying things about you that aren't true, or people are doubting you, or hating, or whatever?
I've said this to you many a times, but um, it only matters what God says. What does God say
Mhm.
about me? What does God say about me at all times? And I know that He loves me at all times. I know that by me being a good person and by showing up and by giving my best, I'm able to honor God.
Mhm.
So when the doubt comes, when the hate comes, I know what that is. I see it for what it is, but I also
Mhm.
know that God's on my side, and I know that I'm doing something for myself, but then also for something bigger than myself. So it's you can't really worry about stuff like that.
Yeah. Just
It's
coming back
just
to God and just I heard something the other week that was like anything that says in any way that you're not good enough isn't from God because God never says that, you know?
right,
And that's
absolutely,
so much of today's culture, it feels like, not just with sports, but just with anything. Like, I've seen so many, even just like people sell things because of the belief that people have that they're not good enough already. You know, like, oh,
right.
you need this to be good enough. You need to do this. You need to be this or whatever, fit in whatever mold. But that's something that I've always really loved about you is like you don't just talk about it, but you really do have that belief in yourself. Like it shines through. That's why you've had the success that you've had, you know, like it's not because of people. What would you
Hmm.
say to, other athletes, female athletes, but really just athletes in general who are going through, some challenges that you've experienced in the past, whether it be coaches frustrating you or I mean, you haven't had like major injuries, but any injuries or like tweaks or adjustments to college sports or moving, the difficulties with having to move a lot, like what would be some advice you would say to those people?
Um, I think that a lot of times that in this life, we're always trying to achieve something. We're always trying to get to the point of achievement, whether
Mhm.
it's we're trying to get playing time, whether we're trying to come back from an injury, whether we're trying to be the version that we always want to be, which is absolutely fine, which is absolutely perfect. I mean, that's what I always think about that. Like that's normal as athletes and as people. But I think the biggest thing is to remember where you are, to
Mhm.
remember um, just staying present, like be where your feet are.
Mhm.
I mean, this is something that I saw, and I'm gonna explain a little bit. Is so often we think, oh, when we get there, we'll be happy. But when you
Mhm.
get there, when you get to that point, you're not gonna. You'll remember that moment, but you'll remember all the moments that came before that, all of the
Yeah.
hard work, all of the hard work, all of the moments when you didn't think that you were able to get through it, but you did. And that's what
Mhm.
you're going to remember. That's what shapes you as an individual, as a person, as an athlete. The moments where it's hard, the moments
Mhm.
where it's good, the moments when you look around and you're like, "Oh my God, what have I got myself into?
Mhm.
Am I able to do this?" That's what shapes you. That's your story. It's not the
Mhm.
beginning or the end. It's the middle part. That's your story, and that's who you are, and that's what's gonna get you to the point that you want to be at.
Right. It's like the destination is every step. It's not just that final end goal. What would you like? What were
Absolutely.
some? Can you touch on a little bit, like how difficult it was to adjust this year? Because, like, I know things were a lot different at your new school.
Hmm. Absolutely. Definitely transferring in. Anytime you transfer, you're gonna have some difficulties. That's just naturally, even coming into college, you're gonna have
Mhm.
some difficulties. Um, I think the biggest thing that for me was that I just worked. I just showed up and worked, no
Mhm.
matter what happened, no matter what disappointment or something like that came my way. I just stay true to who I am.
Mhm.
I just continue to work, continue to show up, and really just do it for the love that I have for my sport.
Mhm. And how did you come back to that? Because sometimes this has happened to me before where, I think this is something we have in common, but it's just like my nature, it's like who I am to show up and give my full effort on any given
Hmm.
day and to show up and to put in the work. But sometimes, and I did film a recent podcast about this, like I got so caught up in like, oh, I have to do this, 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 and that pressure of like, I need to show up every day that like somehow the love of the game was lost in that? So how do you think you
Hmm.
maintain that?
Um, I think you just maintain that from just taking it step by step,
Mhm.
figuring out like what is wrong, like what is going on in this moment. Because we've all had moments where we felt like, I don't feel like getting up. I don't feel like going to practice. I don't feel like eating healthy. I don't feel
Right.
like doing these things. Like that's just life.
Mhm.
And trying to figure out like what is wrong, like what is going on in this moment, why am I feeling like this? And it probably has nothing to do with basketball or any sport. It probably has something to do with something else that's going on. And I feel
Mhm.
like finding the root of what's going on. Am I having a bad day? Does my head hurt? Do I not feel good? Like what is it? And trying to figure out what that is first, figuring out how to work through that, just talking to yourself.
Mhm.
Okay, I had a rough day, but I know that tomorrow will be a better day. And I know once
Right.
I um, get through whatever I have to do, then I'll be fine.
Mhm.
And I'll come back to, the sport that I love.
Right. Do you think that, because sometimes when I feel like I've experienced that, I've also at the same time been rushing a lot places, like
Hmm.
just always like on the go, and I didn't ever, well, not I didn't ever, but not enough. I was just slowing down to just be with, spend time with God and like spend time in prayer. Have you found that for yourself as well, or anything similar?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as college athletes and just athletes in general, our lives are so busy.
Mhm.
Just finding the time to talk to God, in the morning. It can be anytime. Like sometimes
Right.
I'll be walking into a store and I'll just be just praying, or a thought will come in my head and I'll be like, you know what? I realize this, but I need to talk to you about this a little later. Just
Mhm.
finding time. It doesn't have to be a full blown out, even 30-minute hour talk. It can be
Mhm.
2 minutes,
Right.
30 seconds. Like, there's
There's
no
no
time.
rules
There's
about it.
no there's no rules. There's no
Yeah.
rules when it comes to God. He's always there for us. So there's no rules. He doesn't hold anything against us. So if it's 30
Mhm.
seconds, even if it's a second and a half a second, he's
Mhm.
still going to be happy and willing to listen.
Yeah. And then I guess kind of going along with that, what do you think are some of the main things that you learned from NC State? Like from the time you got there and had to adjust and then working your way up and then having like a pretty successful career there.
hmm my time at NC State was a lot of fun. We, as a team, we had a lot of success. I've seen myself grow in those 4 years. It's been crazy, like freshman me versus at that point in time senior me,
Mhm.
completely and totally different people. And I think that the biggest thing is, like I said before, is having the self-belief in yourself. There's
Mhm.
gonna be things, whatever, that don't believe in you, that don't, you know, there's gonna be things that come your way that are difficult. But having that belief in yourself, having that foundation of having, believing in God and talking to Him is gonna really make a difference. And
Mhm.
my journey there was not easy. It was hard. College athletics is so hard. It doesn't get enough credit for how hard it is.
It's not what you expect, like
No.
I think I expected certain things about it. Like I
Mhm.
expected the lifts, I expected film, I expected practice, I expected games, obviously. But it's so many like things that you can't even put into words that you experience and you
Mhm.
learn, but you struggle with, and all these things in between that you can't. I feel like you don't know it unless you have actually experienced it.
Yeah. Especially, I feel like a lot of athletes, the pressure to perform and the
Mhm.
pressure that comes along with being successful, and that is something that I've experienced. I know a lot of athletes have experienced that, the pressure. Oh my God, if I don't perform, what's gonna happen?
Mhm.
What is gonna happen? If you have a bad game, what actually is gonna happen? Nothing,
Right. Yeah.
Like if you have a bad game, like what actually is going to occur, in those
Yeah.
moments when, you didn't have a good game.
Mhm.
I always would tell myself, I didn't have a good game, then there's a reason why. I had to grow in some way.
Mhm.
What did I learn from that experience? And so I think sometimes pressure is just, it's manufactured. It's made by humans. It's in our
Mhm.
own head. And I think that when you really focus on doing something because you love it, you won't care what other people have to say. You won't care what
Mhm.
other people are thinking. And I feel like sometimes that's where pressure comes from.
Mhm.
It's pressure to perform for others at times. It can be for yourself, definitely for yourself. You know me, Grace. I am extremely hard on myself at all points
Mhm.
of time. But focusing on what made you fall in love into your sport is very important. And
Mhm.
doing it for yourself, doing it for your teammates. It's not always about impressing.
Right. And it's like I think so many people get into like this spiral of, oh gosh, I had a bad game or I made a mistake. Then what's this person gonna do? This person's gonna be mad. My coach is gonna pull me. What's gonna happen? And then what I've found is like I think a lot of times for me, it has to be a conscious choice of like, I'm going to stay in peace no matter what? Like something happened that was out of my control, or even it's out of my control, even if it's something I did, but it's in the past because I can't go back and change it. But I have to
Mm-hmm.
actually say, like, I'm staying in peace. Like, I'm not going to let this take my peace away because then you start losing sleep over it and then you're not performing as well because your body isn't as well rested, and it's just like a spiral that kind of goes on and on and on unless you like
Absolutely.
stop it. Do you have any like ways that if you find yourself getting into a negative spiral that you like stop it like that, like any like phrases you say or things you do?
I say to myself, like God's in control. I always remind
Mhm.
myself of that. If I have a bad game, if I have a bad moment,
Mhm.
if I, a course of events aren't necessarily fair, I always say God's in control
Mhm.
because He is. And, like you said, you can't change the past. You can only change the future. So in that moment, like you said, being very conscious of where your brain is going. Is it
Mhm.
going positively? Is it going negatively?
And also like how what do you think you carried from like our experience in high school? I know you weren't at Nease for your full high school career, but what
Hmm.
do you think are like some of the main things you carried from Nease to your college experiences?
Definitely just the commitment level. I mean, even for a high school team at Nice, we were always very committed.
Mhm.
We worked extremely hard. I feel like we're just a little bit above and beyond some high school programs. So carrying the same work ethic, the mindset, and just how to relate to people was something I. Those are the things that I definitely carried from Nice and into my college experience.
Mhm. What are like some of your favorite memories from Nice? I know mine.
Mhm.
Well, actually, I don't
Uh,
know if I know
I
mine.
got a lot of memories. I feel like the best the best memory was I feel like just being around like all of the team. I feel like
Yeah,
we had so much fun together, so many different personalities and people and
yeah.
it
Like when
was
we went to
just
the beach at Naples or like
oh
Disney
yes.
World,
Yeah,
the
Disney.
hotel room at Disney World.
Yeah, Disney was a lot of fun, you know. Well,
We had, what was it, three different rooms
yeah.
at Disney. And the other rooms were like kind of like close friends. And then our room was like the most random mishmash of people.
It
We
was. And
were like
we had
friends.
the most fun. We had
Yeah,
the most fun because of all the different personalities, because everyone was so different and we had a ball. It was great.
yeah, for sure. And also, I like the experience of going to the state championship was really fun. Even just like all
Hmm.
the in betweens of like going to the locker room or like having the meals or the practices or all of those things, you know?
Hmm.
And then, yeah, my next question that I had was like advice to incoming college athletes in
Hmm.
dealing with coaches. But I feel like
All
we
right.
kind of already touched on that. But is there anything that you think we should add or that you would
I
like
would
to
definitely
add?
say as yeah. So I would definitely if high schooler being recruited, I would say the biggest thing is to do a lot of research on the
Mhm.
program. Obviously, speaking with the coaches, talk to current players, former players, even those who went into the transfer portal.
Mhm.
Get a really good sense of the program, what you're getting into, and doing your own research beyond what they just show you.
Mhm.
Watching the games. I mean, there's so many games on like YouTube and like other streaming services where you can just watch games, previous games, watch those games, see where you fit in. Like, how do I fit into this program? Talk to a trusted adult, whether that's your parent, grandparent, whoever, coach, high school coach. Just talk to them and say, do I fit in? Does my game fit into their playing style?
Mhm.
Just asking really hard questions. I know sometimes it can be kind of intimidating when you're walking into an office or walking into a Zoom meeting with college coaches because of their status, because
Mhm.
of their professionalism and how experienced they are. But at the same time, you really have to ask those tough questions.
Mhm.
What do you see like what do you see me doing in my freshman year? How do you see me impacting the team? What are the things that you think I need to work on? Asking some of those more difficult questions, and then coming back, analyzing all the information that you got from that, and making the best decision. Your intuition is the best sense you have.
Mhm.
Um,
I
trust
agree.
trust your gut when it comes to stuff like that. And like I said before, don't forget to do your research, researching every part of the program, just to make sure that it's a fit for you and that you'll be happy there.
Mhm. Yeah, that's all like great advice because I feel like that advice was somewhat out there when we were going through a recruiting process, but I didn't know how to ask questions like that, you know? I didn't know
Right.
the questions to ask. I didn't know all the things. Like I tried to watch, or I did watch film of most places and stuff, but I didn't know how to like analyze it, break it down, how would I fit type of thing, you know? It was like, oh, I could shoot. Yeah, I would fit here, you know? Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like the
Mhm.
offensive style. What defense do they play? How do they see me fitting in? What's my role? And like those are hard questions to ask, you know? Even like when you're
Mhm.
at school, I feel like having those conversations takes a lot of courage, especially if you're
Yeah.
not as like extroverted person
Yeah,
naturally.
it is. It is. It's hard questions to ask, but when you're coming into college, you're a young adult, and
Mhm.
sometimes adults have to do those hard things. And I think that when you have those difficult conversations, it allows you to grow and be more mature.
Mhm.
And so that, when you are a junior or a senior, you have that maturity about you. You know how to talk to essentially your head coach, or any of your coaches are essentially your bosses.
Mhm.
So, doing that now is just gonna better you for the future in dealing with other professionals once you get out of college.
Right. Yeah, like that's one thing that I've really grown in and is being able to advocate for myself and express
Mm,
myself verbally, you know, like that's such an underrated skill to have and like it comes like any skill, it comes naturally to certain people, but I found that I was a type of person that like I like to sometimes like avoid conflict, you know? So I would
mhm,
just try to like keep the peace, but there are certain circumstances where it was the right move for me to speak up, and I've learned how to do that through college basketball, you know what I mean? Like
mhm.
do you think that you've gotten better at like expressing yourself or like the way you talk to people or like knowing how to say it, or do you think that's something that you've just always been able to do?
Oh, I definitely grown through it through college. I mean,
Mhm.
self advocation is key. You have to be able to self advocate for yourself at all points of time.
Mhm.
And it's so funny, especially as women, like women athletes. You always see the guys, and they always say how great they are.
Yep.
For like a job, like, oh, I'm coming in here, I'm asking for $10 million, and they're so confident in themselves. And there's always something that stuck out to me is
Mhm.
that when guys are able to say how great they are, it's appreciated. But
Mhm.
when women, they express, they say, I'm great, I deserve that $10 million. It's looked down upon for whatever reason in society, but
Mhm.
it's
It's
important. It's
like people
important
are
that
taken aback by it almost like they're offended by
yes,
it. It's
yeah,
weird.
yeah. No, we no. As women, we advocate for ourselves. If we see
Period.
something, that we feel like, hey, you know what, this is the point in time where I need to stick up for myself. You
Mhm.
advocate. You advocate for yourself. You do it in a very professional manner, a manner that allows you to be heard, a manner that is that is received well. But you definitely need to advocate for yourself, especially if
Mhm.
something is not fair, is not right. You gotta be the strong woman you are.
Yeah, and like we're allowed to talk too, you know? I was playing pickup
Yeah.
the other day and like I started talking and I feel like the men were just like, what the heck?
Oh yeah.
But
You got
I don't
you
know.
got you got to do that. You got to do that.
But last like topic, you are about to enter into a brand new chapter of your life
Mhm.
and
Yep.
pursuing a professional basketball career. So how are you feeling, you know, with entering that chapter?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I spent 5 years in college. It's been
Mhm.
a great 5 years, a long 5 years, but I've always had dreams and aspirations of playing professional basketball.
Mhm.
And here I have an opportunity, and it's amazing. It's all that I've wanted ever since I was 7 years old. So for it to finally be here is a great feeling, and I'm looking forward to see where life takes me.
Yeah, we can't really say anything yet, but you guys should definitely follow her at Hoopergirl41, right?
Yes.
On Instagram and just keep up with her journey because, you know, she's accomplished so much in college, but it's really only the start with her pro career and all of, like the success that she's going to have in her life. She's not only amazing basketball player, but also an amazing person and definitely a great role model for anyone when it comes to like just having faith in yourself, having faith in God, and just working really hard and having big goals and reaching them because of all of the hard work and faith that you have. So, thank you so much for coming on the show. And do you have any closing words or things that you want to say?
I would just say, thank you, obviously, Grace, for having me on here. I've known you for 7 years at this point, and I'm just really excited
Oh,
to be on your podcast. You've done such a great job with it, and all
thank
those that are
you.
all those that are listening, just continue to believe in yourself. And if you need words of encouragement, Grace gave you my Instagram, and I'm always an open ear for anyone that wants to be the best version of themselves, and we can join that journey together of being the best versions of what we have to offer. So, if you need anything, Instagram DMs are open.
Definitely reach out to her. Again, Hoopergirl41. I'm going to put it in the description as well. And thank you guys all for listening. I hope that you learned something today from Camille and just from this conversation, that it helps you in some way. And stay tuned for the next episode on the Live with Grace podcast.